The call after silence. My phone started ringing at 2:14 a.m. Not once, not twice, 7 times in a row. The screen glowed in the dark like a small accusation. Elena, my wife never called this late. Not even when her father, the great CEO, had heart surgery last year. I let it ring. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. A single suitcase sat beside the door, half packed. Not because I was leaving, because something inside me already had. The phone rang again. I stared at the ceiling and listened to it vibrate against the wooden table. Buzz, 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 like an insect trapped under glass. 3 days ago she told me I was worthless. 2 days ago she told me to disappear. Yesterday she changed the locks. And now, 7 missed calls. I finally turned the phone over. Another message appeared. Please pick up. Another. We need to talk. Then the one that made me smile. I didn't know. I leaned back slowly, staring at the message. Of course she didn't know. That was the whole point. For 3 years I lived inside their world like a ghost. Her father's company. Her father's meetings. Her father's money. They thought they controlled everything. They thought I was the weak one. The expendable one. The son-in-law they tolerated. I closed my eyes and remembered the exact moment everything ended. It happened 5 days earlier, inside a glass conference room, when the CEO looked at me with polite disgust and said, "We're letting you go. Performance issues." That was the moment they thought they erased me. But what they didn't realize was that my disappearance was the beginning of their problem. The meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. Quarterly performance review. At least that's what the email said. I walked into the executive conference room and immediately understood something was wrong. 3 people were already seated. Human resources, legal, and my father-in-law, Daniel Kovac, CEO, owner of everything. He didn't look at me at first. Just kept scrolling through his tablet like I was an interruption. "Sit down," he said eventually. No greeting, no smile. Just that cold executive tone. I sat. HR slid a folder toward me. Thin, too thin. I opened it. Termination documents. Just like that. No warning, no discussion. Daniel finally looked up. His expression was calm, detached, like he was approving a minor budget cut. "Your performance has declined," he said. I blinked. Declined? I ran their logistics department for 4 years. Profits up, costs down, every target exceeded. I knew the numbers better than anyone in that room, but I didn't argue. I just watched him, studied him, the man who toasted me at my wedding, the man who once called me family. Now he spoke like I was a stranger who tracked mud onto his carpet. "We appreciate your contributions," he continued. Corporate script, carefully memorized. "But the company is moving in a different direction." Different direction. I almost smiled, because suddenly something clicked. This wasn't about performance. This was about removal. A quiet erasure. Someone wanted me gone. And the only person with enough influence to do that was my wife, Elena, the golden daughter. I signed the paper. No argument, no drama. That surprised them. Daniel frowned slightly. He expected resistance, emotion, begging. Instead, I closed the folder and stood. "Thank you for the opportunity," I said. Calm, measured, professional. Then I walked out. 30 minutes later, I stood outside our house. The same house Elena insisted we buy. The same house her father partially financed. The front door opened before I reached it. She was waiting. No surprise in her eyes, only relief. She handed me a folded piece of paper. I opened it. Addresses, homeless shelters, food banks, a cheap motel. She folded her arms. "Cold. Now that you're jobless," she said flatly, "I don't need you anymore." The wind moved softly through the trees. I looked at her. Really looked. And in that moment, something strange happened. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. Because betrayal has a smell, a texture, and suddenly the whole marriage felt artificial, rehearsed, like a play I had been cast in without realizing. I nodded once, left the paper on the doorstep, and walked away. She didn't even watch me go. The first night I slept in my car, not because I had nowhere else to go, but because I needed silence, pure silence. When someone betrays you, the instinct is confrontation, questions, accusations. But questions give them time to lie. Silence makes people careless. So I disappeared. Day 1. I opened my laptop. Logged into an account nobody at the company knew existed. The consulting firm I built quietly 2 years earlier. Under another name. Another structure. Another network. Most people inside Daniel's empire believed I was just an employee. They never asked what I did before joining the company, never asked how I solved problems so quickly, never wondered how I predicted market shifts months early. People who believe they are powerful rarely investigate the quiet man in the corner. That arrogance is useful, very useful. I opened my email. 30 unread messages, 3 new contracts, 2 acquisition requests, and 1 notification. Kovac Industries, consulting inquiry pending approval. I stared at the screen. They had no idea. The consulting firm their company had been using for 6 months. The one advising their expansion strategy, the one quietly influencing their logistics transformation, was mine, completely mine. Anonymous ownership, hidden structure. Daniel never checked. He trusted the brand, the reputation, the results. He never checked the man behind it. I leaned back slowly. Interesting, very interesting, but that still didn't explain Elena. So I started digging. Phone records, shared cloud backups, email forwarding. Marriage gives you access people forget about. By midnight, I had the first clue. A message thread. Elena and someone saved as AM. Hundreds of messages. Late nights. Hotel bookings. Photos. I read them without emotion. Because the moment you expect betrayal, the shock disappears. AM. Adrian Mikhailov. Senior Operations Director. My replacement. Of course. The promotion was already planned. The affair, too. And Elena? She wasn't just cheating. She was helping him climb. Removing me cleared the path. Corporate love story. Strategic adultery. Efficient. Predictable. I closed the laptop. 3 years of marriage summarized in 20 minutes of reading. But I didn't confront them. Not yet. Because revenge is like architecture. If you rush the foundation, the building collapses too early. Instead, I waited, watched, and continued my consulting work, quietly. 2 days later, the first cracks appeared. Daniel's company sent another request to my firm. Urgent. Logistics crisis. Supply chain disruption. They needed help. Immediately. They didn't know. They were asking help from the man they just destroyed. The DNA test arrived the same morning. A plain envelope. No return address. No company branding. Just numbers. Results. Facts. I sat in a cafe and opened it slowly. Inside was a single page. 3 lines of text. Probability of paternity, 0%. I stared at it. For a long time, Elena was 3 months pregnant. She cried when she told me, said we were starting a new life, a new chapter. I remembered how I held her that night, how she pressed her face against my chest. Now the numbers told the real story. Adrian's child, not mine. Of course, everything aligned perfectly. Remove the husband, promote the lover, secure the inheritance, corporate family, neat. Efficient, cruel, but not surprising. I folded the paper carefully. Then I opened my phone. 32 missed calls, all from Elena. 3 from Daniel, 1 voicemail. I played it. His voice was tight, controlled. Call me immediately. No greeting, no explanation. Interesting? I opened my email. Another message from Kovac Industries. Subject, emergency contract negotiation. They needed my consulting firm. Badly. Apparently, Adrian had made a decision after my termination. A logistics restructure. A disastrous one. Supply lines collapsing. Millions lost every hour. Daniel needed the consultant who designed the original system. The same consultant, who happened to be me. I smiled. Then I booked a meeting. Tomorrow, in person. At their headquarters. The boardroom looked exactly the same. Glass walls. Long table. City skyline behind it. Daniel sat at the head. Adrian beside him. And Elena standing near the window. Her face went pale the moment I walked in. No one spoke. I placed a leather folder on the table. Sat down slowly. Daniel cleared his throat. We didn't expect you to attend personally. His voice was careful now. Respectful. Different tone. Consultants aren't employees. They're leverage. I like to understand my clients, I said calmly. Adrian shifted in his seat. He knew, or at least suspected. Daniel leaned forward. We need your firm to repair the logistics structure. I nodded. Yes. Pause. But first, I slid a document across the table. Daniel opened it. His eyes narrowed. Company ownership records, consulting contracts, payment history, every invoice they paid, every strategy they followed, all pointing to one name. Mine. Silence filled the room. Heavy, unavoidable. You've been working with my company for months? Daniel asked quietly. Yes. His knuckles tightened on the paper. And you never mentioned it? I tilted my head. You never asked. Adrian stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. I looked at him, then placed another document on the table. The DNA test. Elena gasped. Her hands shook. Don't, she whispered. Too late. Daniel read it. Slowly, his face changed. Not anger, something colder. Disappointment. Elena began crying. Adrian looked like someone had removed the floor beneath him. And I simply stood, straightened my jacket. Your company will collapse in 6 months. Without the logistics, structure I built, I said quietly. Daniel didn't argue, because he knew it was true. I walked to the door, stopped, looked back once. My consulting rate, I added calmly, is $5 million. Then I glanced at Adrian. And you're fired. The call started that night. First Elena, crying, begging, apologizing. Then Daniel, cold, professional, negotiating. Then Adrian, threatening, desperate. I answered none of them, because silence is the final form of control. 3 days later, the news broke. Kovac Industries stock dropped. Leadership crisis, internal scandal, executive termination. The headlines were predictable. I watched them from a quiet apartment across the city. Different neighborhood, different life. The consulting firm signed 3 new clients that week. Better ones, stronger ones, people who asked questions, people who understood value. My phone buzzed again. Elena, call number 42. I turned the phone off, walked to the window. The city lights flickered beneath the rain. Strange how quickly people reveal themselves when power shifts. For 3 years they thought I was weak, disposable, just the quiet husband, just the employee. They never realized something simple. I was never part of their world. I was studying it. And when the time came, I simply stepped out of the cage they built, leaving them locked inside it. Alone, panicking, powerless. I poured a glass of whiskey, watched the rain fall, and felt nothing at all. Because the truth about betrayal is simple. Once you see it clearly, you never belong to those people again.